Welcome to the Authors on the Porch group, where authors convene to chat and create shenanigans. Join us in the pursuit of authoring and all things books. Now sit back and relax. We hope you enjoy the show. Hey everybody, we are back for another authors chat. I literally forgot what I was saying the mid-sentence. Isn't that the glory of the authors chat here on Authors on the Porch? So guys, tonight we have Elizabeth Johnson back, Marissa Billions, and we have a new guest, Mark Preston Moss. Thank you so much for being here with us, Mark. We appreciate you. We appreciate the space that you come into. It's not easy. We don't get very many males on the show, so I'm so glad that we have you here with us tonight.
Well, for clarification, I am half woman on my mother's side.
Okay, all right. I'm going to have to remember that. I'm going to have to remember that when we start whipping our hair back and forth, okay?
Okay.
All right. Some people know Marissa and people know Elizabeth, but Mark, tell us a little bit more about you so that we can kind of digest the greatness that is you.
Well, thank you. Greatness that is me is mostly, right here nowadays. I keep
I feel you.
expanding.
I feel you. That's why I'm always at chest level, and that's it.
That's not a bad way to be. I like it. So I've always wanted to be an author since I was in college, but life had other ideas for me, and so I didn't get around to writing anything until this book. And this book is actually my mother passed away in 2007, and it's, spoiler alert, the whole setup of what happened that night, I didn't find out for 2 days. And in that 2 day period, my whole fear of death is gone. And with it, a lot of the negative emotions that seem to, plague us, anger that you just can't shake, depression that you just can't shake. I haven't had a nightmare since 2006. So I thought when COVID happened, I had nothing to do because I'm a marching band designer. I design competitive marching band shows for high schools and independent groups all around the country, and my season's about to begin. So I thought, what can I do? And believe it or not, watching RuPaul in an interview one time said that if you're a member of the LGBTQIA community, you kind of have a responsibility to spread your talent, spread your story. And then I thought about that some more, and I thought, this isn't just my story. This is my mother's story. This is the childhood the turbulent childhood that I went through because of what she went through. And then in my 30s, or my late 20s and up until my 30th birthday, she and I were patching things back up. And when I look back as I was writing this story, there's all sorts of indications to me that this was something otherworldly. And I know everyone wants to think that, oh, my mother was an angel. I think my mother was actually had a spiritual destination for me. And it was something that my life journey had to go through. So Christianity didn't resonate with me as a kid because, realizing that I was gay didn't fit in the 80s and 90s until I got into Buddhism. And at a certain point in Buddhism, I went back and looked at the Bible from a different perspective, knowing that there have been men, that's my dad's side, over the centuries that have decided to put things in to change the story. I thought, what if I just read the red ink? And it's a totally different story. And it's the same story from religion to religion to religion, and even in Buddhism. So when I look at it that way and I remove the words, because words are language, words are man-made, and I see what happens with this consciousness, suddenly I found myself looking face to face with what others would call God, and it or him or her saying gently back to me, I've been here the whole time. And so when I don't want to talk too much about it, because if anyone's going to buy the book, I don't want to spoil it for you, because the end of chapter 11 is really pretty good, if I must say so myself. But this showed me that I do have a writing talent. I didn't think that I did, because 2.5 years ago, I sat down and thought, well, I'll try to write. I wrote 28 pages and I was like, this is awful. But then I remember hearing RuPaul say, find your voice. And I thought, how would I do this if I was sitting on the porch talking to a friend? And so finding my voice was just telling a story. Now, when I finished it, I thought, there's one person I really, really would love to read this. My platinum stamp of approval would be my high school English lit teacher, Mary Ellen Silk, who kind of spearheaded the excellence in education around the country when I was in high school and shortly after. And she read it, and she sent me a text message, and the first word was in capital letters. It said incredible. And I cried like a baby. So for me, the biggest goal was getting this book into the Library of Congress, knowing that my mother's story is preserved. So this isn't just about me. What I've done is I've taken the story and my journey through Tibetan Buddhism, learning meditation, understanding these different spiritual. Buddhism is like a spiritual science, I wouldn't want to say. That if Buddhism can't prove it by logic or experience, then it's not accepted. So my journey from a terrible breakup where I was suicidally depressed to where I am today, so incredibly happy, this is kind of like what I think of is a map for anyone who reads it, and I'm your guinea pig. So I think that you can follow along with the story and then think of your own calamities and tragedies that you've gone through and replace it and look at the techniques that I was taught and what they did for me. Maybe they'll do the same thing for you. And that's my hope. So finishing this was for my mom and for anyone else out there who is going through similar stuff that I went through. This can help. That's my hope.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because I think there's a lot of people in the world, not only today but throughout history as a whole, that are trying to find their voice, and I know that Marissa's talked about it. I've talked about it. Me and Elizabeth, gosh, we've talked about it because me and Elizabeth talk a lot. Finding your voice is one of the hardest things I think that we all struggle with. I mean, I don't know what ladies, do you want to chime in on that particular subject? It's in and of itself as a whole can of worms, right?
Well, first, I mean, I read Mark's book, and I, you know, I have to say, like, that book is amazing on so many levels, and it spoke to me on so many levels. And it was, it was a book. I ended up buying it for two of my friends and sending it to them. I'm like, you have to read this. You need this. Like, I needed it. But Mark did find an incredible voice in his story, in the way he told it. And it is, I think, a hard thing. I think in trying to first start when you're writing is how am I going to tell this story? How should it come out? How do I want it to be perceived? How do I want to sound? How do I want to, who are these characters? There's so many things that you have to unpack when telling that story. What is it that you're trying to say? What's the ultimate point of this story? Where are you going? Why are you talking about this? There's so many things that you have to unpack before you start, and so many questions that you have to answer. At least for me, that's how it was. So.
And that's the crazy part, because what Marissa is saying is you have all those things that come up, and you're doubting yourself when you're trying to do it. So it's hard. Like, you have the characters, you're trying to figure out who is this going to impact? Is it going to impact you? Is it going to impact this person? So you have all that before you even get started. So it's like, it's hard. It's a hard situation all the way around. It's hard. But once you get the story out, and once you get it, and then you're sitting there like, wow, it's worth it. And then you know everything that you went through, and you're able to tell someone else.
Yeah, I think the thing that I discovered for myself was one of the, like, sorry, I turned my notifications off, but clearly Samsung doesn't work as well as I need it to. When I first started trying to write, what I was doing was what everyone probably does, which was manufacturing a voice, trying to figure out how am I going to sound just like Margaret Mead, instead of being you.
Yeah.
And before we came on live, when Elizabeth came on, within one sentence, I was sold on who Elizabeth is. And the first time I had interaction with Marissa, we weren't trying to write to each other in ways that would be like, wow, that's the most amazing text message I have ever received. What we were doing was we were just being us.
Yes.
And the great thing about, the great thing to me about being an independent author and going through a different press than a traditional publishing house is that I don't have to entertain those stingy, selfish literary agents who are looking for the next Margaret Mead. What I got to do was I got to tell a story about something that happened to this individual body and this individual mind and soul, and tell it to people like I would sitting around having coffee. And if people will just sell themselves, their fans will find them. But if you're too busy trying to be somebody different, you're never going to find, nobody's going to find you.
Yeah.
Authenticity is the key, I think, honestly.
I agree with you. There's something so important and lost in an authentic conversation. People don't do it anymore. People don't have it anymore. And when you do it, there's that connection, and you know it right away. Like when I had my first conversation with Elizabeth, with Marissa, even just now with Mark, as soon as you came online, and you just come as you are, who you are, and you talk with somebody, they have no problem just having a conversation with you. But when you come as a stuffed shirt, or you're putting on a persona, you can feel the wall in front of you. And I talk to so many people, you guys know that, and I can feel the wall. And when I feel the wall, I just want to go back to bed, for lack of better words. Like, you just want to go, you know what? Let's just start all over.
And it was just like CJ, when you was talking about the wall and everything. I told you the first time you ever did me and Tyrell's podcast, when we first came on your podcast, we just felt so comfortable. It wasn't like, we was just there, just like stiff, and we had to answer everything. And you made us feel comfortable being on the podcast. And that's why I was saying it was an amazing experience, just being comfortable and being who you were. And although it was something, you said, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I might pronounce your names wrong. I'm gonna do this, but this is just me. And we felt comfortable in doing it. And that's all it's about, is being comfortable and being who you are.
I think people are scared of being a hot mess.
Mhm.
Like, just own it. Just own being a hot mess. Like, me and Mark just talked about the whole, like, I'm owning all of this right around here. I just keep it below eye level, so y'all don't have to own it with me.
And we look terrific, don't we?
Oh yes. I mean, whipping my hair back and forth already. Look, we're already doing it. I just want to let you know though, Mark, like, RuPaul is my spirit animal. Like, I totally binge watched for like 2 months straight RuPaul's Drag Race. Oh my God. I was in my bed watching that. My husband kept coming in going, "What are you laughing so hard at?" I said, "You have no idea."
Did you watch AJ and the Queen on Netflix?
Yes.
I did not. I didn't.
Oh my God. That is the cutest show ever with RuPaul, but they only did 1 season, and they left it open for a second season, but it didn't get picked up for a second season.
I didn't, because I watched the first episode and it was a little too deep for me. I was like, it's too serious. I don't do
The first
serious.
episode did take a while. It did take a while to catch on. Like, I watched it and went, not what I was expecting. But by the second episode, it started to find its feet, and third episode, it ran.
Oh, okay.
But see, during COVID, I was locked in here at home. I had nowhere to go, nothing to do. And I thought, what am I going to watch? I've watched everything I could stream that I cared to watch. And then I saw an interview with RuPaul and I went, what is the fascination? Because I never liked drag. And so I watched that first season. I went, oh, this is good, because I got past that facade, which is kind of like in what we're talking about right now, is finding yourself. And when you get behind that makeup and behind those gowns and so on, and you see the artist, I started seeing it as an art form. So with what I've been discovering with, doing independent, selling this book independently, is, the people that help, my publisher said, you need to broaden your social media platform and your social media presence. And so I'm like, okay. And after spending a lot of time on it and seeing nothing happen, I thought, you know what? This is the problem we have right now. I am trying to cater a book, which is long attention span, about the success of meditation, which is developing a long attention span, to the people on the planet who have the attention span of a fruit gnat. And it's not going to work. So, you get 7 seconds. And I go on TikTok and I see this guy who has like 20 some thousand followers, and all he does is stare at his phone and go, poorly lip syncing a song, and he might just lip sync 5 or 6 words, and he gets 8,000 likes. I've got something on here that's going to help you overcome depression if you listen, and no one will like it.
But that's something that you have to continue to work on, because I'm the type of I'm one to, I don't give up. If I get 1 like on something, and if that 1 like changes one person's life or changes one person's mind, that's all I'm worried about. So I don't never give up. When marketing a book, it could be, you can market your book and you can gear it to someone, but you never know who that book is for. So, for example, for me, I'm the type of person that just walk up to somebody and don't let them ask me what kind of day I'm having, or don't let them ask me, what do I do? That is the perfect time and the opportunity for me to just go in. I was, as a matter of fact, I just posted in Alabama. I was in Alabama and at the gas station, just going, at the gas station, and went up to the counter to just go buy some candy. And the lady said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "I'm doing great." And she says, I said, "I'm from out of town coming through." And then she says, "Yeah." I said, "You have any children?" "Yeah." Why did she say that? My book is geared towards children. That was a perfect opportunity for me to say, you know what? You need to check out my book. And she said, "Yeah, you have it. Do you have it on you? Carry your book everywhere you go, because you never know what that will do for someone." And she bought the book behind the counter and took a picture with me. So my thing becomes, don't say whatever you do to market yourself or market your book. If one person like it, don't worry about the 8K, because those 8K don't mean anything. Just as long as it changes one person's life, and that one person tells one person and tells another person, that's all that matters.
Well, I actually found some TikTok videos that were very, very good, that had some meditation / enlightening / things that are in line with your genre of book. And they were highly sought after for just less than 2 minutes, like 30-second little clips. 30-second, if you can get 30 seconds worth of something that is about, that help them with some type of depression. Maybe it's a sound, maybe it's a, do this 5 minutes a day, and then come back and let me know how it makes you feel tomorrow. And just keep on it, like Elizabeth says. And it's marketing is gut wrenching. Marketing is
sucks.
Yeah.
Oh,
look, Marissa
I
has
hate
done
it.
more. Marissa has done more to market my book than I have. Because listen, when I put this
so
book
why
together,
is it that other people can market your book better than you can?
I came into that. I went into this with that the every stereotypical dream that an author has. I'm gonna, maybe someone will pick this up, and I'm gonna live in a house by a beautiful pond and blah blah blah. I had no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah.
And so getting into this, finding out that I have to learn how to market, I have to learn how to, spend some money on advertising and so on. I've got to do all these things. probably if I would have known that before I opened up the laptop and started writing, I wouldn't have, because it's discouraging. But now that I've, met Marissa, and now that I'm talking to you guys and other people that I've encountered, it really is, a journey of joy. And knowing that I've made some friends from this book that I didn't have from social media. So you're right, Elizabeth. Every chance you get, it's going to speak to someone, and it will find them, and they will find you. And that's been happening, and it's crazy.
But let me say something else. Marketing is just not material wise as well. You have to basically get yourself out there. You have to, your mouth, your words, you have to be willing to open up, because people are not gonna, you can give me a bookmark or whatever, but by me giving you a bookmark, I have to say what's on that bookmark. I have to talk about it. I have to, in high school, they had something to where a teacher gave us a pen, a simple pen. And the teacher said to sell us this pen. And I was like, sell you this pen? And she said, yes, sell me this pen to where I want to buy it. So I had to say, you know what, this pen has a awesome blue top on it. It can write your name real well. And I just boosted that pen up to the point where she was like, wow, I need that pen. And sometimes it's not the material that, that you have, but it's you, how you market you.
Yeah.
Because, if you don't market who you are, then, your book is okay. But if I market that book and I pump that book up to the level where people want to read it, they're going to get that book. Whether it sits on the counter or sits on the table, they're going to get that book. Why? Because I made it to the point where I want them to have it. I want them to be. So marketing is not all about material. It's about you, how you market you.
You know who's really good at the whole marketing thing is CJ and I's friend, Nicole. Like, Nicole hooked me up with my first book signing, and she's like, I'll come down and see you your last few minutes. And she's like, I don't want to crowd your table. And I was like, okay. So I sat there and I watched the people walk by in Coronado, and I'm like, oh, and I'm texting my wife through the thing, and I'm like, oh, you should see these people. I'm making stories while I'm sitting there. I'm doing everything but talking to the people, because I'm terrified, because I am the personality type. I'm INFJ. I can fake it really well in a crowd. I can fake it in a group.
Yep.
But I don't really like people.
I'm with you, Marissa. I'm not that. I don't do that. I'm not gonna go, hey, look at this. I got this. Hey, look. I'm
and
not
that's
a
CJ. CJ say, how do you do what you do?
I'm not a salesperson. It's all fine and dandy to go, you got to do this. I know everything you got to do.
No,
I'm not gonna do it.
No. And Nicole shows up, and she's talking, as people are walking by, she's like, look, she's an author. She wrote a book and it's good. And I'm like,
it's like,
Elizabeth has this personality that just fills a space, and I'm ready to buy the ink pen that she was talking about, and I'm sure it doesn't really exist. The hard part for me is I didn't go into this, as thinking as a marketer, thinking about advertising, because, I do marching band show design. So there is an advertising and a marketing that has to be done there, where, the success of the design of a show that I put together is the advertising for the next year. And whenever I meet a band director who wants to hire me to design their show and work with their kids, I can sell myself there. But the hard part with this, and this is where I'd love to hear what you have to say about it, Elizabeth, is, part of the spiritual path for me is building more humbleness than it is to suddenly come across the advertising of Mark sounds narcissistic. And I don't want this, when I'm helping somebody in a spiritual sense, I don't want it to be about me. Read what I went through, then I'll help you with your issues, you see. But for me to start, look, the truth is, if I were to stand up right now, we would see this pear-shaped body, and I'm 51 years old, falling apart, and there are these ideals in the advertising and marketing world that this is something I would rather be pushing and promoting than this, although this is what ends up promoting that. I just don't know how to do it without it's flirting too much with narcissism for me. I could sell a blue pen. I could sell a car. I could sell a band show. Selling me, not so much. Not because there isn't self-love. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of self-love, but I also know
Mhm.
people, and people, what the eye admires, the heart desires. That's the old saying. So, what's your advice to get over that?
Well, I'm put on the spot for this one.
Ta-da!
I'm a people person, so I with I just became an author. It'll be a year, April 16th, and everyone tells me, you are the perfect marketing person. This is something that you should. But I never knew I had any of those types of skills to even market or even do. It was just something that that I didn't know I had. But I understand what you're saying. It's something that you have to overcome. And I'm not saying what I'm doing now was easy, because, like I said, I wasn't a people person either. That's kind of hard to believe, but
Yeah.
it's hard to believe. But now, I am. But you have to come, and I'm not saying that it's going to come overnight. It comes by, you have to take it one step at a time. And although we don't want to put ourselves out there and we want to push the book, and as you said, I want people to, read the story. Sometimes you do have to push yourself out there just a little bit and tell your story in order for your book to get out there. I had, with my book, Just Like My Dad, and it's geared around, children and father figures. I had to share the story of, my son not having his father, and that's something I had to open up, and then people can relate to that. And they're saying, wow, we want to, this is something I can relate to, let me see what the book is about. Although we don't want to put ourselves out there, and we don't have to put much, but you have to put at least something out there just to get the message across that this is something that, I want. Because what you said, chapter 11. So now, I'm curious about what chapter 11 is about. I might call CJ and say, what's in chapter 11? She might say, girl, you just got to read the book. But, now that you're saying read chapter 11, people get curious about that. And I might say, Mark, you need to read chapter 6 of my book. It's talking about this, and you're curious about what my book is talking about. So sometimes you do have to put yourself out there in order to get the message across.
And see, the energy that I get from you is what I need to emulate, because there's this confidence in the way you're speaking, but it's not narcissism. And that's the thing that I fear of coming across as sounding a little too egocentric or self-absorbed. But there's this presence about you.
Mm-hmm. But it wasn't always there, because let me tell you something. It hasn't always been there. It's something that I had
pull the
to.
other one.
Huh?
You want to go ahead and pull the other one. Go ahead and pull the other one. I don't believe you. That's something just so natural.
CJ can tell you it hasn't always been there. It's something that had to be built up, because I had issues with low self-esteem. Okay. And you might, but I had to learn to love me and know that learn to love me. And once I got to learn to love me, then it spread it abroad to where I was able to open up. But this is not how I've always been. And what I'm saying to you, Mark, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. It's a process that we have to go through. And we as authors, if we come together and we say we're struggling with this, we're struggling with marketing, we're struggling with this, and we're able to open up. When you open up about something and you need help in that area, then you're able to get help where it's needed. But just don't say, hey, I got marketing down. I'm the director of marketing. I don't have it down. Wherever I can get more help at, please help me. Help me get where I need to go. I need more tips on how to push my book and get more sales. Be open. And that's the key. Be open into what you're doing.
And see, I can buy that now. That the whole idea of learning to love yourself, at 20, 22, 24, 26 years old, hearing people say, I was so upset about this, that, and the other thing. People say, once you learn to love yourself, and I'm like, that's bull crap. Because, I'll love myself when everyone else is loving me. Not true. It totally changes everything. And it's an active love. It's like, what do you do for yourself that brings you joy and also reduces your suffering. So then from that, because of the way you spoke there, I can buy that, but it's hard to believe because it's so radiant in you now.
You know, I really love what Elizabeth said open, because for the first 3 or 4 years, I was authoring. I wouldn't advertise my books. I wouldn't promote my books because while I loved what I was doing, and it wasn't that I had low self esteem in myself, I didn't think anyone would like my books
Mm.
because they were good to me. I didn't think anyone else would think they were good enough for them, right? So for the first 4 years, I didn't advertise them to anyone, and people were like, "Oh, you're an author?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have over 20 books all, written." And they were like, "Oh, snap." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I mean that's what I do. That's why I do what I do, is because I understand the struggle." And it wasn't until this year, I mean, we're only in March, so the past 3 months, that I started slightly advertising my books. I have a
You're doing a wonderful job, CJ.
Thanks, but 22 books. It took me before I started being okay with, exactly for the reason why you said, Mark, because I felt my job, my calling from my higher spirit, my God, whatever it may be, was that I'm supposed to talk to other people. I'm supposed to help other people shine. That was what I felt my calling was. So when I would advertise myself, or I would tell other people that I wrote a book or promote myself, I felt like a slime ball.
Mm.
But then I had to realize I wasn't a slime ball, because whenever I can get more publicity for myself or for what I wrote, it was helping me get a higher platform for other people. So the story that you have, you're trying to help people with your story. You're trying to tell them something that they need to hear. So
Oh,
by having that book out there, you have a purpose.
Mhm.
So by advertising yourself, it's not narcissistic. It's allowing somebody to heal and to help their depression. So when you look at it like that, and it took me a long time to start realizing that about myself, was I wasn't being narcissistic, and I still have a hard time struggling. I still have a hard time talking about the books and the 10 that I'm trying to write this year. I still have a hard time talking about that, or I say it jokingly and I say it in passing. I don't like harp on it, because but there's a reason that you're doing it.
well, this
Yeah.
it's really there's. I guess I need to also say that I guess from the side of non-Buddhists, I don't think I'd have that much of a problem, and I usually don't have that much of a problem. But once I start talking to Buddhists, Western Buddhists, mind you, American Buddhists, the idea of ego whatsoever is antithetical to Buddhism. So even at our center, I have some wonderful people at our center, but there are some that feel that this was a little bit. This is also my teacher's story. My spiritual teacher, he's been in America since 1999. He came from Ladakh. He grew up in the Dalai Lama's monasteries. The Dalai Lama sent him here, and so there's when it's time for him to pass away, this I can now say is a story about him. So I'd be selling my mom, I'd be selling him, and so on. But there's something strange once you cross that line from non-Buddhist into Buddhist, that um, I hate to say it, but a lot of us are almost social misfits, in so many different ways, because we've come to a tradition that is not part of our heritage. It's not part of our communities and so on, and we come with a whole bunch of different problems and tragedies that we've gone through that the traditions around us couldn't answer. So trying to find that voice, what I guess putting this book there, I did not have them in mind, and I will apologize to all the Buddhists out there. I didn't have you in mind. I had getting this story out there. And so far, what's happened is it's attracted people. The thing I think that's a deterrent, though, is that Buddhism isn't about converting people. You can't convert people to Buddhist. You don't go door to door and beg people to come to the Holy Church of Buddha. It's not going to happen. You can be an atheist in Buddhist. You can be a Christian in Buddhist. You can be a Muslim in Buddhist. You can be anything. Buddhism is a good companion to your spiritual practice. And that's, I think, a misunderstanding some people have when they see the subtitle of the book is, a healing, the memoirs of a healing and transformative journey through Tibetan Buddhism. It's the Tibetan Buddhism part that I think might scare.
What happened here? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think that might be something that you would have to come to terms with, recollection with that part of your faith. And I think that each person that has something that might be kind of not in line with their faith, or might have some type of, I don't want to say against, because it's not against the faith, but not in full line with what the faith is, that might be something that you would have to determine what's the best for you,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, CJ. Both of you have got plenty to think about.
I think what the hard part is, because I agree with Mark that sometimes talking about yourself or talking about, what led to your book or whatnot, can feel a little like, oh, I'm on the spotlight now. And then it's like the whole, like, well, you might like it. I don't know. Like we went to a concert in February, and it was our first concert since COVID. So that was like a crazy experience, like just being in a crowd like that. And the lady I was sitting next to, her and I started talking, in between the sets of the performers. And I don't know how it came up, but she said something about like that she was a writer. And I was like, oh, what have you written? And she was like, oh, just nothing big. It's just like this little blog. And I'm like, oh. And I was like, yeah, I just wrote my first book. And she was like, you did? And she's like, I've been wanting to write a book. I'm like, well, you should do it. She's like, well, what's yours? And I'm like, so and like then she bought it like on the spot, and I'm like, okay, I hope you like it. Leave a review on Amazon, and it was like one of those like moments where it was just like, I felt like, she's like, well, what's it about? And I'm like, and then I'm like, well, here's the elevator pitch. And, you have to go through that. And then she's like, that sounds really good. And I'm like, it's got good reviews. People like it. It's
yeah, okay. I know a lot of authors that do that, and they get real nervous when somebody outside of their immediate circle or whatever wants to read their book. They're like, oh man, like this is like serious or whatever. And then there's people that aren't, and they're like, everybody should read my book. And I want to go, no, not everyone should read your book, because only the people that like your genre should read your book. Only your targeted audience should read your book, because like if you're, if you have erotic romance, children should not read your book. I mean, like you're not everyone's cup of tea. And that's what a lot of authors have to understand. So
my students have found out that, well, because, you Google search me and I'm up there, but like, yeah. My students were like, can we read your book? Like, just think about it, Mrs. Billions. Like, there's 3,000 students at this school. If we all bought a copy of your book, and I'm like, your parents would ask for me to be fired. Like, if you read my book and I told you to read my book. And they're like, is there naughty stuff in your book, Mrs. Billions? And I'm like, there's some adult things. And they're like, oh, what's it called again? And then they're like pulling up their phones, like this one.
Awkward moments. Well, guys, we have a few people that are chiming in tonight. We've had quite a few viewers actually, so I just want to let you know you're not alone. It's live here in the group and on YouTube as well. So people, just showing their support here with you, and making sure that they love you guys. So we've got Alan Little. Hi, CJ, everyone, and to my awesome marketing director, best-selling author Elizabeth, and Playtime Multimedia. And we know awesome. Alan, he just had a book released over this.
Yes, he just had a book release, Beneath the Surface of the Skin.
I almost said over the summer. We ain't even in the summer yet.
Oh wow, it's coming
Yeah.
over the summer.
You can tell I do TV well, don't I? Asia Pearl, hello everyone. And she was chiming in when we were talking about RuPaul. She said it's a must, and she
Yes.
was talking about the show,
AJ
the
and the Queen.
AJ and the Queen. Yes, watch RuPaul's early movie, but I'm a cheerleader. I might have to go and check that out.
Oh,
So
that's a cute one
hilarious.
too. Oh my God, that's an adorable movie. I love that movie.
You guys,
It's
so
absolutely hilarious.
you guys, I grew up around drag queens. I grew up in a bar. My mom owned a bar. A lot of people don't know this about me. My mom owned a bar when I was, what, 13, 14, 15, and when I went off into the military. And, and she quite frequently, they had drag queens come in and do shows at her bar because they had a live band. And so I grew up around that stuff, and that's my gig, like bikers and drag queens and all of that stuff. That I mean, for me, like I can go into any crowd and I'm like, I'm at home. Let's do this thing, you know? So I just love everybody.
I kind of
Shanita,
picked up on that.
huh?
I kind of picked up on that, and there's one thing that you do that is a drag queen must. I
Yeah.
call it the drag queen lobster claw. When you're talking and you do this with your hand and you snap, I call it the drag queen lobster claw. You just clap, clap, snap.
Look,
They do all
that's
the time. They
from
go like, oh no, honey, 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 honey.
I got that from Jonathan Van Ness from what is that show? Oh my gosh, my brain. This is middle
Queer eye
aged
for the straight
here.
guy.
Yes. Yes, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. I got that from Jonathan Van Ness. Yes, I love him. I love all of those guys. They totally need to come redo my house. If anyone's watching and knows them, this house needs redone. This
They need
hair
to
needs
do my
redone.
wardrobe.
Your
I
hair needs to be redone too.
well, it needs to be like real done. Like this is some out of the box stuff, and Tan can redo my wardrobe, and I could totally talk to Kimo fired. Anyway, Shanita, I was on Life with Shanita the other day. You guys need to go watch her podcast, listen to her podcast because
Amazing.
absolutely amazing. Shanita is a fantastic human being. She has got a whole story that you guys definitely need to um, hear. What is the name of her book? What is the name of her book?
The name of her book is Get Your House in Order.
Get Your House in Order. And let me
And
tell
she
you,
has a podcast as well, Life with Shanita.
yes, get your house in order. And when you realize what it's about, and it's about getting your house in order when you lose somebody, like if you lose your spouse, just one day you wake up and your spouse passes away. Like, get your house in order, seriously. And Nicole's here.
Oh, Nicole. Yes. Gotta read her
Oh,
book too.
snap. You know, every time Nicole's on a show, she has one of our books up. She's like, I
Mhm.
got your book. I got your book. And let me tell you, I had Nicole's books when we did this giveaway one time. And we thought we were going to, you know, be real important and do this giveaway. And then the stuff got lost in the mail. Like I had the tracking stuff, it got lost somewhere in one of the states. So I had to put everything back together. So I had to send the copies of Nicole's books that I had off. So I don't have her books anymore. So I need to get her books again. We have Bernice Lohman from Lohman. She does, oh my God, Bernice, she's going to kill me. Lohman, I think it's Lohman Enterprises, if I have it correctly. She does a lot of
Was
she does
she
all the
was
production.
she on the
There you go. The
okay.
International Summit.
International? Okay, I
International
remember her that
Summit.
name.
Yes, she does all the production. So if you need all the fancy online productions, Bernice, yes, she does it. She is absolutely fantastic. No, Nicole, I need to buy them. Don't send me no more. I need to buy them because I shipped them off. I'm a horrible friend. I'm the only friend out of all of us that can't just pop up anyone's books. I got one here, but it's not any of ours. Anyways, guys. So yeah, if people could be more honest about what you're struggling with, you never
Yeah.
know who's out there to help you. You know, we had Elizabeth was talking about some things that you could do. We all talked about the support with Mark going, it's not narcissistic. It's realizing what your book has to offer somebody. And without sharing it and without promoting it, it's like this nugget of information that somebody doesn't get to digest inside their soul and
But
become a better version.
There was a time I used to keep that to myself because I didn't want to let people know what I was struggling with. I felt like if I kept it to myself, then I can deal with it. It's just me that knows. But now I don't know how to write a book. Help. Because help, because you don't know who's out there to help you or do what you need to do. So now you just need to open up and, be truthful and know that there's somebody out there that can help you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know Mark and I were brought up in the Midwest. CJ, where are you from originally?
The Midwest, Indianapolis,
right.
Indiana.
All right. And Elizabeth, where are you from?
I'm from New York, Brooklyn.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
I can't speak for Brooklyn, but speaking for the Midwest, Michigan and Indiana, we're raised to be like, self-reliant. You don't ask for help. You don't tell your business. You smile at everybody, or you just, you give them that Midwestern, like, whatever look. And, and then throw on top of it, we're all about the same age group. We're all Generation X, we all kind of, we tough it out, so like asking for help or asking to be noticed is something that is just foreign. Like it is so foreign for all of us. And so it's, but you never know, like when you share your story, like you were just saying, Elizabeth, when you share, it all of a sudden somebody's like, oh, you know what? I know about that, or I've heard that, or I've been through this, or this is what's helped me. And you're like, and it's life-changing when you get that, when you can get past that and you can talk about it and you can put it out there and people recognize and people are there for you and they support you or they show you that love that you need. And it's all about that, authenticity and vulnerability and letting that be noticed and recognized.
Because that's the same thing you were saying, that the first thing when people want to get your book, they want to buy your book, the next question is, the next thing they say is, what is your book about? Why did you write this book? Those are the questions that people are asking before they get you. Okay. And then now when you're telling them that and you can relate to that, and it's like, okay, so, that's why she wrote this book. This book can help me. But like I state, it's not going to be something, it's a process for you to kind of tell your story. Because not everybody's just going to sit there and just say, here's my story. It's a gradual thing. So.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. There's going to be people that are going to pretend to be there for you. You're going to open up to the wrong people sometimes.
Yeah.
And there's going to be people that are going to try to bring you down. And it's going to be hard. Nothing worth anything is going to be easy.
Absolutely.
But you have to start somewhere. Because, I went through that and I still go through it. But I'm not going to stop. I'm never going to stop because I wasn't put on this earth to sit down. Don't nobody put baby in the corner.
Okay. I'm going to wipe him.
Like I want to give up. I talk to Elizabeth about this all the time. I'm like, Elizabeth, I'm done. I'm shutting the show down. I'm done writing. They done pissed me off. I quit. I'm done. And then I talk to people that feed my soul. Good.
And then I say to her, what is your why?
Yeah.
What is your why? Because your why, that's important. Why did you start the podcast? Why did you do that? And if your whys outweigh all that, then all what everybody else do, it don't even matter. And then you have to ask yourself, what is your why?
What I was going to say with Marissa talking about the way we were raised in the Midwest, I think we were all raised with the boomers and so on and so forth. I don't mean this in a derogatory way. There was the whole keeping up with the Joneses attitude that everyone had. So this family got a TV. The next door neighbors did everything they could to get a TV in their house. And so I'll say this, I'm not sure if he's watching or not, and I'm gonna just preface this, Dad, like we talked about in the garage, there's this journey that we all go on, and this book is just as much about my dad's journey as it is about my mom and my teacher and myself. But my mom, first of all, hid the fact that I had a biological father from me until I was 17. That's in the book. That's part of that journey. That's part of the let's keep that secret that they like to have. My dad went to his dad and said, "How do I raise somebody else's son?" When he was when my mom asked him to adopt me, and his response was, "Turn him over your knee and teach him who's boss." And my dad did, and that ruined our relationship through my childhood. And he knows I hated him as a kid. I couldn't stand him being around. I cut him out of my life after I graduated for 15 years. And after my mom passed away, my aunt said, "Have you called him yet?" And I said, "I've got to, don't I?" And the man that answered that phone and started talking to me, the very first thing he said is, he didn't even say hello. He saw the caller ID, he knew it was me. And he said, "There are three things, three versions of the truth, yours, mine, and the actual truth. Three sides to every story, yours, mine, and the truth." And the wisdom that came through that phone melted me. And so there's something, he hates it. He hates the fact that I wrote this book. He read the first chapter and he's like, "I don't like looking back at that." And I understand that to a point. But the vantage point that we have at our age to look back and see the journey we came through, the younger generations are saying there's strength in that, not weakness. There's beauty in that. And it's a map for other people. You want to give purpose to your mistakes, show people how to get around them so they don't make them also. I think that he'll come to understand that. I think the more that I keep on pushing him and saying, "Dad, it's okay. We all had to go through this. Who you are now could not possibly have become this now unless it went through that." And my dad's gone through so much editing. I'll tell you, my dad has gone through a lot of editing. The things that I've heard him say when I was a kid and so on, that was typical of Midwestern white men in the 80s, to who he is now. My dad is a wise, wise man, and I love him dearly. So, we're coming from that. We're the byproduct of that culture that liked secrets. Yeah. Well, they might not have liked secrets, but they kept a lot of secrets, and we had to do a lot of searching. So that's also, part of this book is finding out that, we all ask the question, who am I? Who am I? And we need to have all the details we can possibly get. But at the end of the day, I think, I look at someone like Elizabeth just radiating. Who you are is what you are at this moment, not what you've been, not what you could possibly be. It's what you are in this moment. And I can understand why she's a marketing genius. Just by you being yourself, you could sell me a wife.
Oh, I love that.
As long as cheesecake is on the gift registry, I'll go ahead.
He said, I'm in it to win it. I think the most beautiful thing you said is that your dad is full of editing, how you said it. And I think that we're all in the editing stage.
I actually had this talk with my students today, my juniors. They're finishing The Crucible, and which is American literature classic about the Salem witch trials. And one of the characters, Reverend Hale, he starts at the beginning. He's very gung ho about this witch hunt, and then in the end, he's like, "This is out of control. We've lost. This is not right. We need to stop." And they're like, "But why? Why did he do that? Why did he suddenly change?" And I'm like, "Well, it wasn't sudden. The timeline goes on." I said, but the point of the character of Reverend Hale, he's kind of the point of all of everything, is that you believe something in the beginning, and then as you get the evidence, as you learn, as you get new information, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to evolve. Mm-hmm. You don't have to stay stuck because everybody else in your belief system is stuck. It's okay to say, "You know what? This is wrong." somebody had made a post about a politician and, saying that they weren't genuinely for gay rights the other day. And they were like, this person didn't support gay marriage until 2012. Well, it's okay. Some people change, people learn, people grow, it's okay. What's not okay is to say, when you're faced with new information and new facts and new experiences, to say, I'm going to stay exactly the same. That's not okay. That's not how we're meant to be designed. That's not how humans should be.
Yeah. We have to grow every single day.
Mm-hmm.
This has been an enlightening conversation. I've had a blast, you guys. I'm so glad we had this group with us tonight because I think I needed this. It's been a long couple of weeks for me, and I've started losing some motivation, but y'all brought it out tonight. Like, seriously. Well, we've come to the part of the show where we all get that couple of minutes of self-promotion. Come on, Mark. We're going to start with you because I know you got it in you. Bring that book out.
On,
Let us
Mark.
see it where
I
we
don't know if
can,
I can do
where
this.
everybody can go and grab it.
Now, Marissa, you're going to make me get up and go get your book. But so I will say this for anyone. This story is, me, my journey. There's part of it's autobiographical. The book is split into 4 parts that accord with the Buddha's 4 noble truths: the truth of suffering, the truth of the cause of suffering, the truth of the cessation of suffering, and the truth of the path that leads to the cessation of suffering. And so I split that into 4 different parts in my biography, going through what I grew up with, what I dealt with as a child, some of the crap that my mother and I went through. I needed people to understand that dark part. And then when we get to the breakup that I went through and the betrayal in that breakup and how I became suicidal, I needed them to see there was a lot there. And at the end of it, if I can do that, if I can recover, if I can overcome depression, if I can learn to trust people again, if I can learn to find a joy that I never knew was possible, if I could stop having nightmares, then anyone can do it. There's nothing special about me. But this story with my mother, again, it's chapter 11. I can't talk about, I don't want to spoil it, but my mother's passing away. Pay attention to the first couple of chapters about my best friend's dad growing up, because you will not believe that it happened, but I will tell you 100% it happened. And
I cried during that chapter.
To believe that it happened, to know that I went through that, the 30-year-old me, if I was to tell the 30-year-old me that I went through, that you're going to go through this, I'd be like, bull crap, that can't happen. It's mathematically impossible. I just say that night, I've had friends read it and they said to me the same thing. They said, I lost my fear of death because I know you and I know that you wouldn't lie to me. And they said, I'm anxious to see my relatives when it's over. So I'll just say, what I've told everybody, besides this book, I have one thing that I've been doing with my social media presence is I've been trying to be there for anyone that will message me. I will message right back. If they go to my website and they find things for their contemplations, they find meditation instruction and meditations. One thing I want to say, CJ, when you were talking about the little 2-minute videos that people have on the on Instagram and stuff like that, there are a lot of people that are teaching meditation wrong. Mm-hmm. Welcome to America, where if you have a book in a building, you could start your own religion. Yep. And there is a way to do meditation correctly, because if you're listening to these guided meditations, that's just listening practice. All the problems will still be there once you turn the CD off or the MP3 player off. When you learn how to exercise this mental and spiritual muscle, you can defeat all those negative emotions. So that I talk about that in there, and I try to give good instruction, what I learned, and I'll be there for anyone, anytime.
Start duetting those folks and point out what they're doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And show how to do it correctly. There is your TikTok famous moments, Mark. Genius. And then throw your book cover up on that video.
Which, by the way, isn't this pretty?
It is. It is.
I mean, if I'm going to self promote here, my friend Scott painted this for me, and
Where's it at? I have it on I just downloaded it.
Yay!
Yeah, I
Thank
just
you.
downloaded it.
This is in reference to my mother and I. This picture, I asked him to paint it as and use the movie On Golden Pond as his muse, because that was our favorite movie together. So this picture represents my mother and I, and I'm a reflection of my mother. Law of reflection at the end of the book explains it, and you'll probably figure out the whole cover after that.
And do a sunset picture too.
Do you have yes? And do you have a website, Mark?
Yes, it's called Over the Counter Dharma. Dharma is spelled DHARMA.com. And you can find me also as Mark Preston Moss, Over the Counter Dharma on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. I'm actually going to be in Indianapolis in May. I might have to look you up. Yeah.
Do you like Ethiopian food?
I don't think I've ever tried it.
I would love to take you to your first Ethiopian restaurant.
I'm so jealous right now. What the heck?
Listen, we got to get you and Nicole out of California.
Oh, no. You guys got to come to California. That's the thing. People come to California. We don't leave California. You come to California.
Yeah. Elizabeth, are you in New York right now?
I'm in Florida.
You're in Florida. What part?
Melbourne, Palm Bay.
My best friend lives in St. Pete.
Okay. That's about, 2 hours away from here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will see him in Dayton, Ohio. I don't know when I'm getting down there next. I'll probably see CJ before all y'all. And Marissa, I just got to fly out and meet you.
Yeah.
Just got to spend time with you.
Yes. I have a guest room. So just saying. For any of you guys, I have a guest room.
I bought an RV. I'm coming with the whole house.
Yeah, she's supposed to be coming to Florida, but that hasn't happened yet. So
I'll be in Florida. I'll be in Vegas. That's the closest I'm coming to California.
That's a 4-hour drive. Me and Nicole will road trip.
November.
November what?
For 20 books. We're going to Vegas. Nicole's coming to Vegas.
Maybe I might do the weekend. I don't know. I'm not doing the conference, but I might have to
come up for the weekend so we can hang out.
Yeah.
Okay, Marissa, your turn. Before we just sit here and just have like this whole.
So this is my cover. This is the book. This too shall pass. A mother will do anything to save her son. It is my elevator pitch. It's one part family. Oh, and actually, it's 2 parts family drama. It is 2 parts family drama. It is 1 part coming of age, 1 part coming out of the closet, 1 part lesbian romance, dash of spice, 1 part ghost story with a heavy topping of karma on the top. So it was very loosely based, well, not very loosely, but it was loosely based on the, in the first 2 parts, my actual coming out story and then my custody battle over my son. And then it takes a little deus ex machina turn towards the end there. And yeah.
Where can people reach you?
They can reach me on Instagram and Facebook at author Marissa Billions. They can reach me on TikTok at Marissa Billions, but I hardly am ever on there because I hate TikTok. And that's basically the best places to reach me. Oh, and Twitter at Marissa Billions.
Awesome.
Can I say this about Marissa's book? One thing that I think is really important for this kind of like a revolution. I don't want to say revolution, but kind of an awakening of the LGBTQIA presence is there are so many stories that were never told. And there are people that passed away and their stories went with them. And because there wasn't a space in society for it, now there is. And Marissa's story, though most of it is fiction, the basis and foundation of it is a story that needs to be heard because it's more than just one person's voice. It is almost an archetype of people that have gone through this and can connect with it on many ways. And when you remove the sexuality or the sexual orientation out of it, the souls and what they experience there's so much to it. So I think it's an important story. I really, really do.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Mark. I appreciate that. Elizabeth, over to you.
Well, it's me. My book, just like my dad. This book is from me and Tyrell. Tyrell Player, Playtime Multimedia Publishing Company. We came up with that book. It's a book for opening up the conversation between parents and children, whether they're dealing with isolation, separation from a parent, or loss of a parent. The book we're getting it into the school system. It's also an audio book, Spanish version. We also came up with the curriculum for the book as well. Have other authors that's under me, as stated, Alan Little with his book, Beneath the Surface of the Skin, Alonzo Strange with The Gal, and also the CEO of Playtime Multimedia, Tyrell Player, his book, Stolen Innocence. Yes, that's it. Um,
Just ordered it.
Oh, wow. Awesome. So, just like my dad, amazing, amazing story. As I said, we just came back from Book Fest in New Orleans. Doing, if you haven't been to Book Fest, you need to go to Book Fest. We put out some information for the Authors Porch for CJ, for authors out there for Book Fest. I was able to meet the mayor of New Orleans. If you haven't been to Book Fest in New Orleans, it's the same time every year. Amazing, amazing place to go for authors and to get your book out there, to get the word out, to be amongst other authors. It's amazing, amazing, amazing event. So other than that, you can reach me on Instagram at Lizzie May 97. Also, I have an author's page, Elizabeth Johnson, or you can also have Playtime Multimedia Publishing Company, where I'm the marketing director. And our website is www.platymm.com. And if I'm not on anyone's podcast or anything, I'm pushing books and making it happen.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth.
So you said Lizzie May 97?
On Instagram, Lizzie May 97.
M-A-Y or M-A-E?
M-A-Y.
Did y'all find her?
I just ordered your book for my classroom library. So
I need to talk to you, Marissa. So I'm gonna get you on. Are you on Instagram?
yes.
Okay, I'll make sure I get you on Instagram. I'm ready to come to California. So I mean, CJ's RV needs to come to California, but I'm ready to come to California if you have me and get me out there. I'm ready to come.
Well, it's going to be in my classroom library for sure, and we'll talk about because we are always looking for good guest speakers at the school to talk to and motivate our kids. So
absolutely, we're ready.
Yeah, I've watched and seen Elizabeth speak to children in those schools through her videos, and they will be motivated.
Yes, it's high school kids, but
I love it.
Yeah.
I was an educator for 10 years. So nice. And when I was with the little kids, I just got back from Newcomb Learning Center with 3 and 4-year-olds and interacting with them and them I told the teachers that it starts with them. You know, that's where it starts at, it starts right here. And once we get where it starts at and build them up, you never know what there'll be: authors, teachers, doctors, lawyers, but it starts right there. And if we're able to pour into them, parents, teachers, faculty, friends, family members, if we're able to pour into them, we never know what can happen.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. Well, if you want to know everything that's going on with the Authors Porch, we're at theauthorsporch.com. We have the next magazine coming out. The 4th of April is the latest issue of the magazine. We're doing the author spotlights twice a week. Those spotlights will be going out on the Authors Porch page, the group, the newsletter, the blog, and anywhere else that we can blast those spotlights. So 2 people will be spotlighted every single week. 2 authors. All you have to do is go on the website and fill the form out, and we're going to spotlight you because we think that every person who writes a book deserves to be spotlighted. It's free promotion. you can book yourself on the podcast as well. If you want to know anything about me, I have my own website up. It's a little under construction, only because I'm getting my courses up there, the things that I can teach, the stuff that I learned through the author's world. I want to make sure that I'm giving back at all chances at cgivslopez.com. And the Author's Porch is the Author's Porch on all social media platforms, including TikTok. And CJ Ives Lopez, all social media platforms, including TikTok. So, guys, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. I've had a great conversation.
Yes,
And you
this was
guys just reach out if you ever need anything on the Author's Porch or from me myself. Whenever I can, I respond as much as possible. When I'm not having my moments where I need a break, which I'm currently in one of my breaks right now, because I do work a full-time job and all the other stuff that I do. But I appreciate all of you. So we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you, CJ.
Wonderful to meet you. Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Nice to meet you. as well.
Bye, Elizabeth. You're awesome.
Bye.
Mark.
Bye, Mark.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Elizabeth.
Bye.
The Author's Porch is a certified veteran-hosted podcast. Show your support. Tune in, share, and subscribe.